Hello, my name is Casey Lai, and I am the founder and CEO of Promethium. Promethium is focused on allowing business users to be able to derive near real-time insights no matter where their data might live. This is complex today because not only of the data factoring, but also because we use multiple tools of the modern data stack that requires multiple complex integrations where it causes delays as well as costs in getting the answers back to the business. Our approach is very simple. We allow users to use AI to simply ask the questions where we will then complete the entire workflow of discovering the data and assembling it and then building a data product in a few minutes for users to consume. This is the only product in the market that gives you a single workflow to build data products from scratch, regardless of where the data might actually live. The combination of our unique data fabric plus the incorporation of Gen AI makes it a perfect solution to accelerate the adoption of Gen AI projects.
In this demo, we'll use Promethium's data fabric to better understand high-risk factors of poverty and how they vary by geography year over year. We'll then dive a little bit further into how poverty and US-based education policies specifically have impacted education quality in the US over time. Finally, we're going to show how this change in US-based educational policies has helped to decouple education quality and inequality trends over time. To do so, we'll leverage over 25 assets across 4 different data sources, including Oracle, S3, MongoDB, and Snowflake. That by no means is all of the natively supported data sources in Promethium. That can be highlighted by this grid of sources here. After crawling a specific database under a data source, Promethium out of the box captures a lot of metadata, including technical metadata around column names, sample values, column types, as long as the ability to add tags at the column level, tags at the table level. This is our no-code builder. You can see that we selected from some fact table about inequality trends, joined on a dim table to get some more human readable information as to the indicators that we were measuring with, and then joining by the active policy for education that was in place in the US at that time. There are other out-of-the-box transformations available in Promethium, namely unions, filters, case statements, group bys, order bys. But when you're selecting fields, you can go a little bit deeper and use custom expressions to calculate the output field from that input field. On top of that, we offer a native SQL IDE to go further in depth if you are a power user or data engineer. While our no-code UI provides a good interface to see the repeatable steps taken to produce a given data set, our lineage view does an even better job. You can see all the way upstream the source tables that were used to create the assets that were finally joined in to produce this final table. Users can get feedback directly on the UI from a query performance perspective by just clicking on Run, and you'll get the runtime and the size of data fetched from the query directly on the interface. If the query is not optimized, we can dive even deeper and check out the query engine performance UI to see where bottlenecks may be occurring. They give you a summary of the resources used, the query run, and the stages that the query was broken down into, as well as a graphical overview of those stages, where they're pulling the data from, whether the aggregation is happening at the query engine or at the source system level, etc. To publish this data set, all we need to do is select Publish, select the asset type that you would like to publish to. We already have it as a table, and go ahead and republish. There's a warning that comes up if it is already published that if there were changes to the underlying asset, this could potentially break any downstream assets that are using it. Now that we know that final table is an asset that we would like to analyze and has valid data, we can go ahead and endorse this Note we have 3 different types of feedback: endorsements, warnings, and deprecations. And that is left there for future users to read before actually consuming the data set. As mentioned, Promethium provides tags at the asset level and at the column level for both business users and IT roles to go in and manage the semantics layer metadata. That applies to descriptions as well. You can add a description at the column level, you can add a description at the asset level, or even use our add AI description feature to integrate with an LLM that will populate it for you. As you can see on this dashboard, we also provide descriptions at the report level with an integration to pull that in from an LLM as well.
In this section, we're going to take a look at Promethium's visualization capabilities, as well as the ability to generate them using natural language and Gen AI. What's unique about Promethium is that we can actually create visualization as well as queries from scratch without the need to having to predefine and pre-build the data set. So let's take a look at that. Here, I'm going to come in here and ask a simple question first, and we're going to make it a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to ask, hey, what is the value by country by inequality indicator? And I'm going to select a domain so that way it's easier for me to organize it later on. The domain just a semantic nomenclature. So here I've asked the question, I'm not going to build it. I'm actually going to ask Promethium to build it, even though we can select a existing data set or build new one, or this one click is really our Gen AI capability where we will actually take this question from scratch and leverage the data fabric to figure out the logic of how do we actually, assemble the data from different sources? How do we actually create the SQL and actually execute it, even if the data may come from different sources? So that is what's actually happening all in one step right here. So you can actually see this is actually being created here. It's actually created what we call a data map, which is effectively a SQL, right? As you can see here. And so here I've got the education indicator, even though I was able to just say value, it knew that I actually meant education indicator value. And it also gave me the group by country, by indicator. And if I click on dashboards here, it will actually automatically generate the visualization for me. So super easy. I can also create more visualization here, right? Very standard in terms of, do I want a line chart? Do I want a pie chart, etc.? You can have different groupings here and different different chart types here. So very easy to actually create here and start creating your own dashboards here in Promethium. Now, let's say I want to do something a little bit more complicated because this is pretty easy, right? Something a little bit more complex and have a little bit of fun. I'm actually going to ask this question that purposely picked so that not only is it going to give me insight into this problem of what we can do to help eradicate poverty, but I'm going to do it in a way where it normally requires some complexity. So here I've asked this question, what year in the USA after 2005 had the total biggest change in education indicator value year over year by indicator? So what's interesting about this is if you look down here, I'm going to get this data from multiple sources, right? And it's actually going to take a Oracle plus S3, but the S3 is actually generated from Trino. And I want to group by, indicator. I want to do an order by because I want to know the biggest change by indicator by year. I have to filter by year. I have to do aggregations on max and total. And what's cool here, this is the coolest part, is the NLP, the Gen AI, can automatically understand the natural language expressions such as biggest change. So the SQL function knows how to calculate this. Natural years like, after 2005 or year over year change, it automatically transform, create columns, even knows how to perform a self-join. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to take this question and I'm going to go ahead and ask it to Promethium now. So you click on Reasoner, which is our Gen AI engine. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this question in here. And that's it. All I'm going to do is ask Reasoner to take over. So Promethium is going to parse the question, figure out for you the tokens to search against the catalog, figure out which ones to keep, which ones not to take, the best one to select, the best one to join, and possible options, right? So it's kind of like Google Maps. You kind of get 3 possible choices what to pick. So if you are a power user, like in this case, I know this data pretty well. I know that this is the right one that you want to actually pick. right? I can kind of go ahead and come in here and open this up and see exactly the transformation that actually happened. So it's better than just a normal lineage graph. And I can even get the explanation of exactly what happened, right? So why do we pick this? What are the tokens? What are the dimensions? What are the measures? But if I'm not a power user, I'm a business user, look, I just want to see the answer. Someone please just show me what I'm asking for. It looks like, hey, 2021, right? That's the year that had the biggest change. And this is the economic indicator. Look at that. I asked a question, I got an answer. Simple as that. Now, the workflow doesn't end here. Just because you have the results set, it doesn't mean it ends here. You can actually now collaborate with people. So the answers page is a great way for people to come in and just search for things and be able to find created and curated data sets where they can take a look at here and they can see the answers that were created, the visualization. There's a whole range of collaboration efforts that they can do here. They can upvote something, downvote something. They can start conversations with members of their team. So, right. So this allows us to have a full suite of collaboration. But in addition to that, anytime someone looks at something, anytime someone searches for something, all this metadata is actually tracked. So you can actually see, are the data products you created actually valuable? The other part to accelerate collaboration is also by making data easy to understand, easy to consume. But maybe someone has a hard time understanding this. By clicking a button called Add AI Descriptions, Promethium can automatically generate the narration in English so that people can instantly understand and consume the data.
Now that we have assembled the data product, how do we go about sharing it and allowing users to drill down into it to answer their own questions? There's a number of ways that Promethium enables users, regardless of the tools they live in, to consume the data products developed in Promethium. If they don't want to look at the dashboards in a particular report that a data product creator's put together, that's fine. You can simply navigate back to the full data set and download all of these rows, granted, if they have access. And then once they do that, they can open the asset in their data analytics tool of choice. In this case, they might be an Excel user, and do their transformations from there, re-uploading back to Promethium for wider consumption when appropriate. Now, what if this user wants just a quick description of the asset that has been created for them before they go into that analysis, whether in natural language or in Excel? And the data product creator hasn't put in the time to actually put together a description in the above box here. Well, that user can click this Add AI Description, and Promethium will analyze the data product and come up with a description, providing its best guess about what this data is saying and what takeaways to glean from it. Now let's look at those dashboards that have already been assembled. What you'll notice here is that Promethium is not restricted to its own native visualization engine. In fact, what you're looking at here, this chart showing the average number of weekly working hours required to exit poverty by country, was created in Tableau. Now, the beauty of Promethium is that regardless of where these insights are developed, users have one place to interrogate them and answer their questions. They can also use the native visualizations in Promethium that the data product developer put together to look at these charts and understand things like how CPI has changed for a group of countries over time, right? Now, what happens when you don't know yet which answer it is that you're looking for? How do these users find these in the first place? Well, there's a couple of ways to answer that. One is for those users who don't have access to these objects, right? For those users, these assets can be published to a data marketplace. And then those users who only have access to that marketplace can shop these data products and understand which ones are worth checking out. And if they don't have access to these products, they can check them out and then return to that screen for those deeper drill downs. Now, what about those users who do have access to more tabs than just that marketplace? Well, they can use this Explorer page to search across not only data sources, not only tables, not only queries, but also answers and dashboards. For example, this item at the top of the search here is actually a Tableau dashboard. You can see the link to the answer that we were just looking at, as well as click on that Tableau dashboard link itself and view it in the native Tableau application. This allows for Promethium to be your one-stop shop for the consumption of specific data products, the search for other data products, as well as sources, tables, and dashboards, and to manage the dissemination of these data products in a secure way that respects access control and privacy while still enabling those users with the correct permissions the robust capabilities of downloads and natural language interrogation.
You can look at Promethium's Gen AI chat in action. So now, instead of having to search or find tables and views and queries, I can simply ask the question and then use natural language. So I want to know, hey, what's the average revenue sold by vendors by package in 2018? If it doesn't exist, we'll say we couldn't find it from an answer perspective. We'll then ask you if you want to search it to see if anyone's built a data map. I can search, or I could say I want you to actually build this from scratch. So here is the data map that I've asked Promethium to actually use auto mode to actually build. And when I click on preview, it will actually show me the results. So now it does show me average revenue by vendor, by package. Now I want to make sure the 2018 year has actually been included in the filter. So this is why I'm going to inspect the lineage that was created. And it looks like I did apply the filter, and I also want to make sure that the average was actually included in terms of the custom expression. Indeed, that was already calculated in there because there is no average revenue column. So it was great that we're able to apply that automatically just with the natural language prompt. And I can again see how this was assembled to verify that this was done properly. So now that it looks okay, maybe I want to consume this in my operational data warehouse. And so this is where a user can ask Promethium to build them a pipeline. All you have to do is state the data map that you want us to build a pipeline for. It'll come up with a list of similar pipeline names. Go ahead and select it, and then we'll give the user a choice of telling us where they want the data to be published to. So they can simply select where they want it to go to, and if they know the schema, they'll have to select the schema. And now we just confirm that you want us to build the pipeline, so the user can just say yes, go ahead and do it. Now Promethium will actually build and schedule the pipeline, and you can check here to change any settings you want. So here we have a window where you can say I want it hourly, daily, minutely, or start at a certain time. Very, very flexible. So this is actually full-blown scheduled data integration, data pipelining capabilities. So I'm going to go ahead and run this pipeline. It's been created. Now let's kind of go back to the Data Explorer here and just verify that the pipeline not only successfully completed, but it actually successfully moved data. So I'm going to preview this. Good. I'm getting preview sample values, and I can now preview the entire table as well. So it actually sent the result set to Redshift.